All right, let's talk about one of the most powerful words out there, security. Now, it sounds pretty simple, right? But there's this whole field called critical security studies that shows us how we define that one little word. Well, it changes everything. We're going to unpack why this whole concept is way more complex and honestly, way more important than you might think. So let me just ask you straight up, what does it really mean to be secure? I bet your mind immediately jumps to things like armies, borders, maybe national defense. But as we're about to see, the real answer is a whole lot more complicated and way more controversial than that. Okay, so let's break this down. On one side, you've got the classic, traditional idea of security. It's all about military force, making sure the state survives, and protecting physical borders. But then, this broader view started popping up, asking totally different questions. What about security from a pandemic? What about the security of our planet's environment? Or heck, what about the security of your own identity? All of a sudden, the whole idea just explodes wide open. This entire field, really, is built on trying to solve two fundamental puzzles that challenge everything we think we know. It all comes down to the meaning of two simple words.
First puzzle, what even is security? Seriously, scholars have called it an ambiguous symbol and an essentially contested concept, which is just a fancy way of saying nobody can agree on what it actually means. And the second puzzle, what does it mean to be critical? Now, this isn't about being negative or just criticizing things. The root of the word means the ability to make judgments. So it's really a way of thinking, a tool for questioning our most basic assumptions.
And this quote from two scholars, Crafts and Williams, just nails it. They said, being critical is more of an orientation, a mindset, than some kind of strict theoretical label. It's not about joining a club. It's about adopting a certain way of looking at the world. So you've got all this complexity, all this debate. How in the world does anyone make sense of it all? Well, academics came up with a pretty great metaphor. To try and chart this messy, complicated terrain of ideas, they started drawing maps of the field. So let's look at map number 1. This is the intellectual map. And it presents the field as being really cleanly divided basically into two opposing camps. This map draws a nice, simple line in the sand. On one side, you have traditional security studies. For them, the referent object, that's the thing that needs to be secured, is always the state, period. The focus is on military stuff, and the theory is positivist, which means it tries to find objective, scientific truths. But on the other side, you have critical security studies. It deepens that referent object way beyond the state to include actual humans, different groups, even the whole planet. And it broadens the focus to things like the environment and health. Its approach is post-positivist, which basically says, hey, there's no single neutral truth. Our viewpoints are always shaped by who we are and where we're standing. Yeah, so to even understand these maps, you kind of need a new vocabulary. Words like referent object, broadening the security agenda away from just the military and deepening it beyond just the state. These are the key terms you need to navigate these different ways of thinking. Okay, next up is map number 2, the temporal map. This one organizes things not by ideas, but by time. It charts the history of security thinking by looking at these huge world events that it calls ruptures. So, according to this map, the story goes something like this. During the Cold War, everything was about state survival and the nuclear threat. Then, bam, the Berlin Wall falls in '89. This supposedly shattered that narrow worldview and opened the door for all these new critical ideas. Then, of course, the 9/11 attacks create another massive shift, completely reframing global security around the war on terror. All right, on to our third and final map, the spatial map. This one doesn't care about ideas or time, but about geography. It groups different approaches into what it calls schools of thought, often named after the cities or universities where they first developed. This map usually highlights 3 big European schools. You've got the Aberystwyth School over in Wales, and they connect security directly to human freedom, to emancipation. Then there's the Copenhagen School. They're famous for their big idea of securitization, which is the process of how something gets turned into a security threat through politics and language. And finally, the Paris School takes a different tack, using sociology to look at the daily routines of people like police and border agents. So there we have it, 3 maps: intellectual, temporal, and spatial. They seem pretty helpful, right? They give us a sense of order in a really messy field. But here's the twist. What happens when the maps themselves don't actually match the real world? And this is where that critical thinking really kicks into high gear. That intellectual map, Well, it's just too simple. It creates this false black and white picture that completely ignores all the messy gray areas. The temporal map? Turns out history isn't that neat. It overlooks a ton of important critical work from before 1989, and it misses how often things just stay the same, even across these big ruptures. And the spatial map? It's super Eurocentric. It makes these schools seem more unified than they really are, and it leaves a whole lot of important voices out of the picture entirely. So, who exactly is missing from that map? Well, entire fields of thought. Feminist and gender perspectives are often pushed to the side. Post-colonial thinkers, who question the colonial history baked into our security ideas, are frequently just ignored. And huge bodies of work from the global south and other places like Canada, for instance, are simply left off the map.
So if all the standard maps are flawed, what are we supposed to do? This really leads us to the most important takeaway of all. Maybe the real point isn't to find the one perfect map. Maybe the goal is to develop the skills to travel without one. It's about learning to navigate this complex, messy, and incredibly important terrain on our own terms, using our own critical judgment. So how do we actually do that? Well, it really comes down to 4 steps. First, you have to recognize that anytime someone talks about security, it's a political claim. It is never neutral. Second, you have to question it. Ask yourself, who or what is being secured here? And from what? Whose definition are we even using? Third, analyze the consequences. What actually happens when we start calling something like climate change or migration a security issue? And finally, you have to judge. You make your own informed assessment. That, right there, is the heart of critical thinking. And that brings us to the biggest question of all, the one I want to leave you with. If those old maps are unreliable, then what are the security questions that we should be asking about our world right now, today? That's the journey that critical security studies invites us to take. Thanks for coming along.